So, you know how in video games, when sometimes you die, it says mistakes were made? That's how I feel after every time I post on 500 Millennials of Omaha about health insurance. Earlier today on that page, I shared an article that was on a blog from a doctor, and the article essentially says that health insurance premiums are going to raise drastically next time everyone's rates go up, and that is because of the coronavirus or COVID-19, whatever you want to call it. It says that with the free testing they're doing and all the insurers waiving co-insurance for treatment now too, I think at least some of them are, then it says close to $90 billion is about how much it's going to cost insurance companies for the COVID-19 crisis, which is insane. And it's obviously, I mean, we're pretty much in the start of this still, I think. Hopefully not. It's been a little over a month, but $90 billion is a lot. And so because of that, obviously, insurance companies are trying to make themselves look better and giving away stuff for free. But as anyone who has ever taken an economics class knows, nothing is for free. So when the insurance companies do raise people's rates on people's policy anniversary dates over the next year and a half, you'll probably see these rates jack up by quite a bit. And of course, as soon as I bring up anything about health insurance on this damn page, the first comment alludes to Medicare for All or universal health insurance, and it reads, this is why I'm sick and tired of private for-profit healthcare. If costs are low, bonuses for execs and shareholders. If costs are high, raise everyone's rates. That's not how insurance works. I don't know how else to say that. And so I commented, because anytime I see misinformation about my industry and my field, I just try to honestly, nicely, and just genuinely educate people and explain how health insurance and the laws surrounding it actually work. And so my response to that was, actually, per the ACA, or Affordable Care Act, insurance companies are required to spend 80% of their earnings paying for claims for the clients, for the customers. And that leaves only 20% left for profits. That's called the 80-20 rule, I think is the technical term. It's one of the many, many facets that came out of the Affordable Care Act when that passed. And then I gave an example, or what I went on to say, so that's actually why everything costs more for health insurance. And then I did just a quick example. I said, 20% of $1 million is $200,000, but 20% of $2 million is $400,000. So if the insurance companies want to grow, and when they grow, they're able to share more, or insure more people and help more people. And obviously they're a business, they're in it to make money. So if they want to grow and become more successful, then if they want to make more money, they have to essentially reach out to the hospitals and all the providers and say, hey guys, we want to make more money, and you're in our network. And so if you want to stay in our network, and we kind of funnel a bunch of business to you because you're one of X number of providers in our network, then you're going to charge more for your MRIs, for your doctor's visits, for your elbow surgeries, right? So that's why we're seeing all these inflated costs of services for healthcare. It's because whenever you tie a percentage limit to someone's profit, that's obviously going to inflate things, just inflate prices overall. Because, again, to make more money in a percentage-based system, everything else has to cost more. That's why credit card companies love inflation, because they get a 3% fee or whatever it is every time someone pays with credit card instead of cash. And so if someone's paying $100 for something, they get $3. my math is right. But if someone's paying $1,000, they get $30. So they're going to just keep raising costs with the current system. And I essentially said that the current laws are the real reason why healthcare services and facilities are charging more. And so somehow this guy responded to that and took it as, he goes, basically you're making the argument for a single payer system even stronger. Thanks! Exclamation point. And so I was like, not really. I think we should actually completely privatize the health insurance industry, which isn't my full belief. I go on later to explain exactly what I mean, because this is a long conversation. But I said essentially that I think privatizing it would be much better than a single payer or universal health care. And he responds, I don't think my healthcare should be a commodity someone is making money off of. Why? It's everything else everyone makes money off of. And so, I mean, I could have poked a lot of holes in that argument, but instead I just said, so you don't think doctors should be paid? And this is when people started getting upset, more upset. So then a completely unrelated girl chimes in and says, it's so interesting. People think that people should die when they can't afford getting medical help and go to prison when they can't pay their medical debt and shouldn't be able to get health care when they have pre-existing conditions. Just out of left field, Meg. Her name actually is Meg. But that was a wild comment. So that was unexpected. She essentially said that I think everyone should die if they can't afford medical help, which clearly I believe, obviously. Right, Asher? Should Asher make an appearance? Asher's going to make an appearance. Hey, bud. All right, then a different girl, first of all, the first starting guy said doctors should be paid, yes. He goes, but the middleman paying them, nope. Well, even in a single payer system, there's still a middleman paying them, so that doesn't make sense, and that argument's automatically invalid, but we'll ignore that. We'll ignore all logic and facts with that guy for a second, because a second random girl chimes in and says, except it's not profitable to insure people who are very sick. In a completely privatized health insurance industry, those people are denied coverage. That used to happen all the time before the ACA. That's wrong. So I used the analogy, just like in life insurance, there's guaranteed issue policies where someone literally on their deathbed can take out a life insurance policy. They just won't get paid the full amount, and obviously their rates will be a lot higher because they can't pass underwriting. And so those plans actually did exist before the Affordable Care Act, if you do research, which this person did not do. But that is a good point. Not many people knew that those types of plans did exist before the Affordable Care Act. And that's obviously the biggest push against a fully privatized health insurance market, is that people who are drastically ill sometimes might not be able to afford care if the price is so high for their insurance. So later I go on, I'm skipping some comments here, so bear with me as I keep reading. So I go on to explain how those people would get coverage. And I said essentially there should be some sort of law that would require insurance companies to pay for these people, or to have policies that don't deny anyone for pre-existing, and or maybe have some sort of like government program that covers those with specific diseases. I mentioned like Alzheimer's, MS, type 1 diabetes, not type 2, end-stage renal disease, things like that. So obviously those people that just kind of get a bad roll of the dice, or a bad draw of a card right out of birth, or the freak cancer that just comes up out of nowhere that isn't caused by someone's lifestyles or health decisions, those should be covered because they didn't do anything to cause that. But my whole argument against universal health care and this whole thing, kind of summing it up, is that people are always constantly making themselves sick. Literally, people are based on what they eat, what they smoke. They're not exercising. Just so many poor lifestyle decisions. Literally, people are causing themselves to get sick. And so it's not right for everyone else to pay for the COPD inhalers and treatments and eventually probably lung cancer of that person who got all those issues from smoking a pack of cigarettes a day for 10 years. I don't see how anyone can rebuttal that, but they do. So 1 second as I find all those rebuttals. That original guy, he commented, he said, well, you already pay for all these unhealthy people through insurance anyway. It's a pool of people. And I said, it technically is and it isn't. He's half right, because in the privatized market, yes, the overall general starting point for rates are based off of the whole rate pool and all the people on the plans, but there are, in the private market, plans are, I do it and sign people up all the time, plans are individually underwritten. You can get table rated for plans. You can get fully denied plans in the private market right now, based on you, not based on X number of people in Douglas County, zip code 68144. So he was half right. I'll give him half a point for that. Yes, we kind of pay for unhealthy people right now, but not fully. Then I actually agreed with him on something here. So finding common ground, something that usually never happens on this Facebook page. But he goes, if you would self-pay, you wouldn't have to worry about paying for anybody else. Correct, obviously. And I said, that's always an option too. And this is coming from a health insurance broker. I said, self-paying is definitely an option. People can be cash pay patients and self-insure, but the problem with that is lack of discipline. People will get a $4,000 pool of money in their bank account, piled up for saving for their medical bills for a rainy day, and then they'll look at that and say, even if I have a rainy day, it probably won't be $4,000. I'm gonna go buy a new TV, and while I'm at it, my shoes are a year old. I need another pair of shoes. Oh, the new iPhone just came out. I need a new phone. And so then all of a sudden that pool of money's down to $1,000. Then they have a $5,000 medical expense. And that's when the trouble of self-paying and being a cash pay patient comes in. And he made a good point. He said, well, they can just do what happens now when insurance doesn't pay. You just pay out of pocket, finance it. And then, of course, he is very dramatic. And he goes, you can die in debt. The American dream. Who doesn't want that? That's definitely the American dream. Not owning your own business or working hard for what you get or being fair. Nope, that's not the American dream. Dying in debt is the new American dream. Thank you, sir, for letting me know. I did not know that. But he is kind of right. I mean, insurance companies, people nowadays have such high deductibles. Again, a lot of time because they're not prioritizing their money right. They need the brand new SUV instead of thinking that their health insurance is more important than their car. But whatever, that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, because of people's high deductibles, they are getting services, and they get a $4,000 bill. Maybe it's an X-ray, an MRI, and paying for 2 doctor's visits for those or whatever. $4,000 out of their $7,500 deductible, all $4,000 they're paying out of pocket, so they're just financing it from at the provider's finance office or whatever. Anyway, so that was a good point. I'll give him that. I said, yeah, you're right. It's essentially people are kind of self-paying already because they have such high deductibles. And then I went on to say, over the next half decade, over the next 5 years, I think that most people will actually, for their health insurance or health care coverage, because it won't be insurance, for their health care coverage, I said in the next 5 years, I think people's setup will be direct primary care or DPC, which covers their outpatient and So it covers their doctor's visits, and it also covers it gives them a discount for outpatient services. So for a lot of outpatient surgeries, for MRIs, for x-rays, it gives you a super steep discount because they work out negotiation, because they create their own networks, technically. Everyone hates on networks, but networks are actually how you bring rates down. Fun fact, people. But I'd say that people will combine direct primary care with a super high deductible kind of major medical or hospital coverage plan that's dirt cheap. Because right now, at the time of this video, hopefully if anything it goes down, unfortunately it'll probably go up, but direct primary care is a $99 a month fee or membership fee per person, usually with a cap at like $300 or $400 per family. And so $99 a month for unlimited access to your doctor and unlimited discounts for outpatient services is phenomenal. So I think over the next 5 years, people will start realizing that, and direct primary care will become more popular. And we will see people have direct primary care for their outpatient and doctor's visit stuff, and then just have a super high, I guess, call it catastrophic base health insurance plan. But that guy didn't like that. He said, or we could join the developed world and just have healthcare for everyone, regardless of ability to pay. Makes more sense to me. Doesn't make sense to me, Sean. My response was, so you'd be okay helping pay for someone who made themselves sick? And he laughed at that comment. This whole time, every reaction on this is on Facebook, obviously, like I said, is just a laughing. He just laughs to all my comments. I don't get that. But he goes, so I said you'd be okay with paying for someone who made themselves sick? And he goes, I'm not a sleazy insurance salesman, so yes, name calling is good and very effective. He goes, tax unhealthy things to fund the healthcare for all I care. This is like a double entendre, I guess. I don't know. To fund the healthcare for all I care. There you go. I think that's what he meant. But I said, actually, I do like that idea. I do like the idea of taxing, having a sugar tax or having a junk food tax, a fast food tax, things like that. And then I just went on to defend myself and saying I'm probably the most transparent person in my industry. And I said, we haven't even met before. I don't have respect for someone that calls someone else names online when they haven't met me. And then I said, please tell me how I'm sleazy. And then he just said, he laughed at that one again. He just said, well, you've definitely been transparent on here. And did a laughing, crying emoji. So I guess he just ended the conversation because he knew he was wrong, I think. I don't know. Then actually, one of my friends, he's in Crazy Sock Crew, he chimed in. He's probably just sitting there eating popcorn this whole time. But my friend Tyler chimed in. He goes, I do want to pose a question. Why do other developed nations have one payer system and not a private system like the US? And he goes, why does the one payer system work there, but it can't work here? He goes, I'm just genuinely curious. And I said, well, first off, I appreciate you actually being respectful and not just calling me names online and putting words in my mouth saying I think people should die if they can't afford insurance, like that one crazy girl. Gosh, I can't believe that. But then I said, I'd like to start by first asking you to define works, because I mean, obviously it does work, or else these other companies would have, or other countries would have failed. A single payer system can work. I just don't see it as just, or I don't see it as just. It's not fair. And I also don't think it is, I think it would just drive down incentives and innovation, because there'd be less drive and desire to become a specialty doctor or a surgeon, and there'd be less drive to find advancements in medicine or find cheaper ways to do current treatments and things like that, because everyone's just getting paid the same by the government, which probably is not that good, honestly. So that's what I said in response to that comment. It obviously can work. A single payer system can work. I just don't personally believe it's the best. It's not the best way to do things. Numero uno, boy number one came back, dropped another comment, said, so how do you feel about bailouts for corporations, military expenditures, etc.? And I go, hey, you actually asked me that question before on a totally different thread like a month ago. I remembered that he did. And I go, my answer's still the same. Again, this is the guy that was rude to me and says I'm just sleazy, even though he's never met me. So he has a lot of weight behind what he's saying, obviously, and a lot of facts backing him up. But I said I'm not typically for bailouts, but that's a whole nother topic. Also, with bailouts, you have to think about how much the economy would suffer just because of one company's mistake. So, yeah, obviously I'm typically not for bailouts. And then, okay, I gotta find this Meg girl, which she was the one who said earlier, what did Meg say? Because this is hilarious. Oh yeah, Meg's the one that says I think people should die, and she thinks people will go to jail when they can't pay their medical debt, which isn't true. And she didn't know that people that do have pre-existing issues can still get insurance. Fun fact, actually, as I'm finding my place back, people that have pre-existing issues today in the private market can still get insurance. Just most of those pre-existing issues won't be covered probably for the first 1 year. So there you go, Meg. You're wrong again. Where is it? So going back, Meg chimed in after I said I literally, I'll read it verbatim. I said, my answer is still the same. I'm typically not for bailouts, but that's a whole nother topic. Then Meg chimes in and says, so you're okay with bailing out a corporate for a mistake, but not a living, breathing human who has also made a mistake? That's straight up unfathomable to me. I would agree, Meg, because I literally just said I am typically not for bailouts. I said, please go back and reread my comments. She goes, thanks for implying I can't read, as a response to that. So, all right, that's, I guess that's the end of Meg. She stopped responding after that. Ooh, go Meg. No wonder Peter from Family Guy is always like, shut up, Meg. Now I get it. That's what I want to say. I want to say, shut up, Meg. And then a different person comments, she chimes in and says, Colin, Wattonville, your beliefs about illness are exactly what is wrong with the current healthcare insurance industry. It's health insurance industry, by the way. Blaming people for their illness is equivalent to punishing people for existing. That's a stretch. Health insurance costs hold people hostage to choosing between financial ruin and death. Privatization of for-profit companies will only exacerbate how the hell do you say that? Exacerbate the situation. Thank you. I can't read either, Meg. I'm with you. And then I just go, actually, yeah, a lot of times people are responsible for their bad health. But yes, then I said in the same post, I said, I do obviously acknowledge that some people just got a bad roll of the dice. Sorry, believe it or not, this is actually summarizing for you guys. There's so many comments. I'm going to be number 1 again on their leaderboard for next month. Then that girl goes, health insurers should not be judges of who does and does not deserve access to health care. First of all, you can always get health care by going to an emergency room, and they have to take you. They can't turn you away. But also, does that mean that car insurance companies should just give everyone insurance, even if you've had 6 DUIs? Obviously, there's other laws that get involved because the state will take away your license and stuff, but should insurance companies still insure someone that has 6 DUIs and 4 crashes and 8 speeding tickets on their record? Who are you to tell a business that makes money and provides food for hundreds of employees and their families, if insurance companies aren't the judge of who does and does not get coverage, then who else would be the judge of that? So I don't get that argument. But then she goes, and Colin, who are you to decide who is worthy and deserving of help? And I said, honestly, I'm no one. I think that we should get some expert opinions involved and get some scientific studies and facts behind it. and have like some sort of vote, or have politicians decide based on the evidence gathered by the experts. X diseases would not be, or would be fully covered by the government, or every insurance company would have to cover it or whatever. And then she's like, well, that sounds like it's very time consuming and expensive. I'm like, so is making the Affordable Care Act, and so would implementing universal health care. Both of those would be very expensive and time consuming as well. Hallelujah. Finally, this other girl chimes in and she goes, Colin, I feel the exact same way. I don't smoke, I barely drink, I exercise regularly, and eat a pretty balanced diet. I shouldn't pay more for the poor choices of others. Obesity is only on the rise, and there's tons of information to help people make better decisions. That being said, you do you, but be ready to pay more if it's not the best choices. Thank you, Michelle. You rock. She actually later sent me a friend request. So that was awesome. Someone's finally coming on my side. Then after my savior, Michelle, came in, the other girl comes back in and she goes, the best way to prevent dumb choices is to help people live in a healthier environment. Obviously. An addict getting free treatment will prevent traffic accidents and irrational behavior that hurts themselves and the people in their way. Yeah, that's why some nonprofits exist actually already, because they help addicts for free and people can get free treatments already. And actually, alcohol and drug counseling, I believe, is one of the preventive care coverages that's free automatically if you have any sort of regular health insurance plan provided by the Affordable Care Act. I'll have to double check that. But then she goes, an obese person has underlying health issues that are symptoms of a number of possible issues, or simple poverty and lack of access to affordable nutritional food. Stop blaming people for systemic issues that are beyond their control. My girlfriend has a question.
That's literally what all of the welfare system is created to prevent. They have SNAP for that. They have nutritional specialists for that. Please investigate the welfare system in the state you reside if that is your concern.
Right, but then people that get those benefits, they go around and just buy junk food again, and they'll continue to buy cigarettes and keep going to McDonald's and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, sure, she mentions thyroid problems. Thyroid problems can cause some weight issues. There's a couple things that can cause weight issues. Poverty, I can see the argument, but really what causes obesity is putting crap down your pie hole, down your throat. That's what causes obesity. Then I commented and I said that it's pretty clear when poor lifestyle decisions cause certain health issues. If you smoke a lot, then all of a sudden you get diagnosed with emphysema, COPD, or God forbid, lung cancer. Obviously, that's from you smoking. If you eat a lot of crap and get diagnosed with high blood pressure, cholesterol, or type 2 diabetes, that's probably because you ate a lot of crap. She goes, and also, how will people's physical and financial poverty make our lives less costly? That's a weird question. She goes on to say, people who don't have access to health care are more likely to self-medicate with destructive substances because they have no other option. Wow, no other option? That's a stretch there. Then she goes on to say, obesity, this pissed me off, obesity is, once again, not a self-made problem. Obesity is a symptom of other issues, not a cause in and of itself. And so instead of just going back and forth, I said, first off, what do you mean by self-medicate with destructive substances because they have no other option? Because obviously you always have you have the option to not shoot up heroin when it's right in front of you. You have the option to not drive to McDonald's and get a hamburger, but stay home and cook a good meal, balanced meal yourself. You always have options. People that can't afford access to healthcare are more likely to self-medicate with destructive substances. What? So what? Then they're spending money on alcohol to quote fix their depression instead of paying for the healthcare to go to a therapist. Like, it's probably more for the alcohol, honestly. But then I said, what other problems cause obesity? Because she keeps alluding, she's like, obesity is not these people's faults, and everything else causes obesity. And so she didn't respond to either of those two questions. She goes, stop deflecting from the main point by arguing about what are and what are not self-inflicted health issues. If you're going to go ahead and blame people for their bodies being imperfect and failing, you're justifying the ruin of people's lives for your own selfish needs. That's me. I'm selfish. Also, along with that, yes, I do blame most people for their imperfect bodies because they put in crap into their mouth and they're not exercising. They're laying in bed making YouTube videos. So yes, I do blame people. I think there's a severe lack of accountability and discipline. I'm done. I mean, I could go on. There's a few more, but yes, I think there's a severe lack of discipline and lack of accountability when it comes to healthcare and health insurance, and having a single payer system or having Medicare for all, universal healthcare, whatever you want to call it. Having that does not promote good health. There's no incentive at that point for me to be healthy, because I can rack up as much medical debt, and as many medical bills as I want because you listening, you watching, well, if you're in the United States. I doubt anyone overseas is watching this. It would be cool, though. If you are, comment below. There's a little plug. But if you're a taxpayer in the United States, then you guys are paying for me and my dumb choices, my poor, stupid decisions. And that's not right. So that's my biggest argument, and in my opinion, the final argument against universal health care. So there's my update for you today. That's all I did today for work was go back and forth and educate people on the 500 Millennials of Omaha Facebook page. That's not true. I also did emails, of course. I did some yoga again. I walked. In terms of work, though, that was it. I followed up on some emails from some of the quotes I drummed up 2 episodes ago. But yeah, that was I'm going to start with these videos. I'm going to stop, I guess, giving you guys a rundown of my day just because it's so sporadic now. I'm going to try to focus on different individual topics that come up throughout the day rather than just my daily schedule, because one, it's quarantine and I'm not doing shit really, and it's kind of boring. But two, I also had a Zoom networking call today, by the way. So that was in my schedule. That was fun, actually. I learned about LinkedIn, increasing my LinkedIn game. But so you guys don't really care about my schedule probably, and it's not that exciting right now anyway, so I wouldn't care about it either. So I'm going to focus on kind of one or two key topics that I'm obviously passionate about, like this one today, and just kind of elaborate on those and share my opinions and share some facts and share some industry knowledge with all of you guys, and hope that I pass along some information about health insurance and how the healthcare system works, how it got to where it is, why it is the way it is, and what it can and can't, or what it can do down the road, depending on what types of other laws or systems get put in place. So with that, thanks everyone for watching. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye, Asher.